we are so glad to have you with us for Stone United Church's the beginning of our Spring Wellness Series. I'm Reverend Heather Leffler, and this is my husband John with me, and we're delighted this morning to welcome Tim May, who's a member of our congregation and a wonderful speaker who's going to share around wellness and mental illness on the farm. And I want to just give you, we want to begin with a land acknowledgement, and then I'll give you a few details about Zoom, and then we'll let John introduce Tim and get started. So the Creator, overflowing with love, breathed all of creation into being. God made people to care for the earth, God's creatures, and each other. We acknowledge that the land on which we live, work, and worship today is the land traditionally cared for by the Anishinaabe, Attawattaran, Haudenosaunee, and Métis peoples. When our ancestors came, they imposed practices of land ownership that led to broken relationships. We acknowledge the enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today. We long for reconciliation with our Indigenous siblings so that together we can care for creation, share the land and Earth's resources as the Creator intended. So we have muted you, and if you have questions that come up during the presentation, you're welcome to type them into chat. And at the end of Tim's talk, we'll then lift up those questions back to him. When he's finished, you can use your raised hand, and we'll try to answer people in order because we know that there'll be lots of conversation to have. If you're not getting our attention, it's okay to open your mic and speak up. And if you have a technical question because you're not hearing or seeing something, please just feel free to be casual and open your mic. The only practical side is if we close mics and turn off video, it will mean that everybody will be able to hear and see better. So anybody have any questions about Zoom or anything like that? If not, I'm going to turn it over to John to introduce Tim.
I thought I should start with a joke. I went by the other day to see Tim, and his family said that he was outstanding in the field. And reading his bio, he really is outstanding in his field. Tim May, also known as Farmer Tim, is a proud fourth-generation dairy farmer and multi-award-winning public speaker, writer, and social media influencer from Rockwood, Ontario. He graduated from Ontario Agricultural College at the University of Guelph in 1994 with a degree in animal science and has been managing his family's herd of Holsteins ever since. Tim is extremely passionate about spreading positive messages about agriculture. His social media posts reach over 2 million people a month. He uses humor and his genuine compassion for people and animals to entertain and educate his 150,000 plus followers. Thanks for doing this today, Tim.
Tim, you're muted. Sorry, you got muted with everybody else.
There, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's a real pleasure to be kind of speaking to my home crowd. So this week I was at the Rockwood Lions Club, which was kind of neat in my own backyard. And it's great to be so close to my community and not traveling too far for this one. So that's awesome. And it's great to give back. And so we'll get started. Anyway, just to give you a little introduction about myself, a long-time Stone United Church member, very proud of my church family there. And I am what you call an advocate. I'm just going to get rid of that. And an advocate is someone who speaks up in a positive way for agriculture. So someone who advocates for agriculture. So if you hear me use that terminology, that's what I'm talking about. And why do I advocate? I have a whole presentation on advocating and why I do it and how to do it and what you should and shouldn't do. But it just reminds me that as an individual, you can make such a huge difference. But you know, as a community, you can make an even larger difference. So that's what it is all about, farmers and social media. We're less than 2% of the population getting our message out to 98% of the population, and all that misinformation that consumers have to wade through. So that's why I do it, and that's why so many farmers are speaking up. And of course, I talk mainly to consumers, the non-farming public, but I do have a lot of farmers follow me as well. And I'm always talking about animal welfare, and taking care of our animals, and preventative medicine, and how much we really respect them and care for them. But we never really talk about farmer welfare very much. So as an individual, I get to share my good days and my bad days. And a good day could be like, a bumper crop, or a birth of a new calf, or some great weather, or rain after a drought. My bad days could be the loss of an animal, or a hailstorm knocks out my corn crop. And my bad days always seem to be actually more popular to people on social media than my good days. I guess people just like that drama and stuff. But there's no shortage of bad days in the farm, and some days are a little bit crappier than others. And then, of course, way back when COVID happened, and it's still kind of among us, and we're getting used to it. But farmers are always kind of social distancing. We don't get off our farms very often. We work by ourselves. We're with our families, and that was a real hard hit on farmers, because the few opportunities we had to get off the farm and socialize with people had disappeared. So that is really, really a big challenge for everybody. Fairs and things, I know farmers on social media were talking about how horrible it was to, the College Royal, or the Royal Winter Fair was closed down, and they couldn't show their animals. And it's a huge social event. It's not all about showing animals. It's about, getting together and talking to other farmers, a big mental health boost for them. And even be able to educate the public at local fairs and stuff through agricultural education booths never happened. So that was a big struggle, and things are starting to get back to normal. Even the Canada's Farm Show, which is a huge deal. I always try to go every year. I go to the dairy pavilion to see all the latest technology, but you usually get about 2 or 3 feet before you see someone that you maybe only see once a year, and you start talking to them, and maybe realize that you don't really go to the farm show to see stuff. You go to talk to people. And it went digital during COVID for a couple of years, and there wasn't very good turnout, as you can imagine. So that's a huge disappointment. And then, of course, as you all know, who of you are on social media, everyone's always posting, wonderful photos of their family, and laughing, and trips, and beautiful things. And those things happen in life. But, I don't care who you are, there's always struggles in your life. And not a lot of people will post those struggles. Some people do, but, you don't always see what's going on in the background. People's lives aren't always as pretty as you think it is. Take farmers, for instance, even this morning, I was talking about the struggles of the snow this morning, and trying to get things done, snow moved before we could get at our work. But I've talked to farmers on social media that, maybe their spouses passed away, their children have left the farm, they're all alone. And can you imagine 7 days a week, having to milk your cows in the dark, desolate winter? You get up in the dark, you go to bed in the dark. And it can be lonely, and it can be exhausting. Like I said, snow, I didn't realize it was going to be such a great introduction to my presentation, the snow we had this morning. But, cold temperatures, snow, frozen pipes, it's just one more thing. You have all those chores to do every day. And then just having to go blow snow the rest of your day is just draining for anybody. Poor Andy out there shoveling sidewalks. We had to shovel the one doorway in the barn. It was almost 3/4 of the way up the door this morning to get in the barn. There's an end to it, but and snow is beautiful in some ways, but it can be depressing. Ice storms. I put this slide in a couple years ago because there was a big power outage for a few days. Thankfully, we had a generator. The generator at the time would only maybe power the milking machine, or the silo unloader, or the stable cleaner, or or the heat in the house or the stove at one at a time, right? So chores took forever. And I'm thankful to have a generator. But I remember one of my friends in Rockwood was posting about how they were complaining about not getting their Netflix series, and I thought, well, it's just kind of priorities and stuff, and everyone struggles different, but that kind of made me chuckle a little bit. And then when spring comes, it has its own challenges, of course, getting stuck. I expect that'll be happening pretty soon. And humidity. Oh, I can't stand humidity and the heat. I'm a cool weather person. Fall, spring, even the winter, I don't mind. But humidity is hard on people, and having to work in it every day is fine, or maybe going to the beach is fine. But it's hard on the animals. It causes reproductive issues. It causes they don't eat as much, so milk production drops. Causes foot problems, believe it or not. The stress of the heat. And for me, it makes me grumpy. It makes me achy. I'm a human barometer. I just can't stand humidity. Rain, weather, of course. This was a 10% chance of rain that was supposed to happen. I thought, 10% chance, there's 90% chance it's not going to rain. So I cut down all my hay. And sure enough, that little funnel of rain, that 10% that probably Wellington County got, just happened to come across my hay field. I got most of it off, but that was like, I was looking forward to getting that hay in and safely, but some of it got ruined because of the rain. So you just can never prepare for the weather. And drought, we had a pretty good one last year. This was from a few years ago. It was even worse. And people say, well, you have crop insurance, that's what that's for. But if you consider I'm having drought, my neighbors are all having drought. There's no feed for my animals anywhere in the neighborhood. And if you do want to buy it, it's going to be really, really expensive. So it's really challenging, the weather. And then you get that rain finally comes and you're like all celebrating. And I remember posting this actually, and this was in response to another friend of mine, and I love my friends, but they need to think about what they post sometimes. So we were in the middle of the drought, finally got a bit of rain, and they posted like, oh, they were all upset because their golf game was canceled because of the rain that day. And meanwhile, I'm just happy to get the rain to grow some food for people to eat. So like I said, it's all relative, I guess. But anyway, we finally get that rain. You get that bumper crop. And I remember like this one summer, like I've never seen corn as awesome, great big cobs on the stalks. Went to harvest it for the silo, and I thought, oh, I'm going to take a look at this cob, and I pulled it back, and the corn was all full of these bugs. And they opened up the cobs. It rained. It caused mold. It caused toxins in the feed. It was just nasty. So even when you're thinking you're going to get a great crop, nature has another plan for you. Talk about, of course, animal welfare. I'd argue that farmers actually care more about their animals because we do actually make a living with them. And I think when you stop being compassionate, you stop being a farmer. When you stop worrying about animals, and it's not very often we have sick animals. We do a lot of preventative medicine, but they do get sick. And I remember being up many nights worrying about an animal, checking on them, because you don't want them to suffer, and you work really close to them, and you don't want anything to suffer. Of course, during Abby, she started university. She's in her third year now. She's hopefully going to be a special education teacher. We'll see what happens. But I remember it was her first year, and I said, Abby, it's going to be the best year of your life. You're going to make new friends. It's going to be a great experience. And then COVID happened. She did all her work at home. I felt so bad for her, missing all the social events. And it's better now, but that was a big part of her life that she missed out on. And not just that. Rural internet still sucks, as we can attest to some people there this morning. I know during COVID and stuff, everyone seemed to be logging on at the same time, either working from home or kids at home playing video games or watching TV or whatever, which is fine, but it just overloaded the internet. I know my poor wife, she had to use her own cell phone as her hotspot to try to get some work done, and everyone realized how bad a system we really have. And even now I do advocate for a better rural internet. It's not great. It's getting better. It's going to take time and a lot of money. But there's a lot of people missing out on a lot of things because of no internet, especially in rural communities where you're isolated, you're alone. You need that tie somehow and even on the farm, we use Wi-Fi and a lot for farming now. You know, people have robots and stuff like that. They need that internet connection, and the government doesn't always realize that. I know during COVID, there's some 4-H kids who couldn't take part in online on stuff or even schooling because of poor internet connection. So something we don't really think about. And then, of course, during harvest and planting, hay cutting, whatever, there's long hours in the late at night, early in the morning, which is normal for farming, and we expect that. We got to work when the weather allows us. But then as a dairy farmer, you don't really get the break. It's 7 days a week. You're up late that night. You have to be up early the next morning. So you don't really have a chance to kind of, there's no weekend coming up that, you can take a break. It's just every single day. You might be able to squeeze a nap here and there, but it can be a challenge. Urban encroachment. This is at the Bonner farm just down the road, little subdivision in there. And, just working under that microscope of people watching you out the window, and most people are waving and stuff, but some people don't wave and they just kind of look at you. And every once in a while I'll get out to talk to someone at the dog park, just to let them know what I'm doing, but there's so many things in agriculture that are misunderstood, like even combining that corn in the fall, it was very dusty. Now there's behind those houses, there's barbecues and little hot tubs and stuff like that. And I'm like, I hope it's not going to be a dusty, windy day when people are out there in their backyard. But I do the best I can, and it can be a real challenge working in a urban area. Things like trespassing, also being close to an urban area can be an issue. These were snowmobile tracks that went past all 3 of these signs, believe it or not. And by spring, that whole backfield was pretty much like the 401, and the middle of the field was killed out. It was a field of hay at the time. It could have been wheat, it could have been anything, but snowmobiles are really hard on things. I'm not anti-snowmobiler because I've snowmobiled myself and enjoyed it, but just respecting signs and people's privacy, it's not your property, right? And then, of course, garbage. I'm always talking about the environmental farm plans we have to have and how we care for the environment. But the trash that gets picked up and puts my animals at risk, that's in their feed, sharp objects like tin cans and stuff, it can be a huge issue. And, it does cause mental health issues. People are just throwing garbage around. Of course, paperwork. Everyone has to deal with paperwork, either at home or at their own businesses and stuff. But in agriculture, it is getting worse and worse and worse. Welfare audits, which are great. We have surprise inspections. We have farm audits. Just finished mine, and it's like days of paperwork and preparation. And stuff you have to do. And I don't think people realize all the stuff that goes in behind making quality milk, and that little blue cow sign. It really, really, really makes it a pretty amazing product, and all the loopholes we have to go through. So be assured, all this hard work. I wish people would realize the hard work we go through to make a good quality product from well cared for animals. So thank you for your support of agriculture. And then, of course, huge mental health issue. A few years ago, I'd fallen on the ice. Ironically, I was texting my wife to be careful on our way home from work because it was icy, and I, of course, fell. Texting her, I hit my head. I got a concussion, lost my memory for about half an hour. I woke up and I started calling my family and friends randomly over and over again, and went to the hospital, I'm glad I could go to the hospital. But at the same time, it was right at chore time. My wife's working, my Andy was doing an apprenticeship at the time. My daughter's at school. My parents were unable to help. And like animals need to be fed and milked. And, it's just, you can't just have some random stranger drop in and do these things. So I was more worried about the cows than myself. But, and I probably pushed myself back into work a little sooner than I should have, just because of that that stress of work being at home. But anyway, it can be a huge mental issue. And of course, my amazing parents, I know they're watching now, having them both in the hospital, having a responsibility of all the farm and everything, and then looking after family and stuff and life issues that come up that everyone has to deal with. That just adds one more thing to it. But thankfully, it's all worked out, and they're home and doing well now. But at the time, it was a huge mental health issue. And then, of course, they say, well, you need to take a holiday, and everyone needs to take a holiday. And thankfully, recently I had one, mostly because I could leave my son at home to do chores. As a family, we've rarely ever been away for more than a day together because somebody always has to be here. It's a family farm. We're not some of the bigger farms that have full-time help, maybe they'd be able to get away together. But as a small family farm, you just can't have someone just come in that easily. And if you do, and you do go away, you have that stress of worrying at home. These are all these animals, like, what it's like if you have pets at home and you want to find a dog sitter and how big a deal it is, and just getting away and worrying about your pets. You imagine a whole farm of animals and crops and so many things can happen, right? So to be able to find someone that you trust to come in is worth $1 million to me. And then, of course, farmers are at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to a lot of things. We're the grassroots. So, getting paid for crops and stuff, I'm not much of a crop farmer. Most of my crops go to my animals, but we do have a few acres that we do sell. And it gives me an ulcer because one day it could be a great price. You go to sell it and all of a sudden crashes. And each day or each hour of each day can make a huge difference on your bottom line. So to make a living that way, is hard. They're doing better now because prices are high, but also input costs are high, right? So fertilizers doubled in price and fuels doubled in price. And this is why your cost of food is going up. It's not the farmer's fault. We're still struggling to get through, but it's a combination of so many things. Of course, politics, I won't get into politics, but they can be a huge mental health thing. I know you've heard lots of issues about supply management. If you guys ever have questions about it, please ask me. It is an amazing thing for farmers and for consumers. There's so much misinformation about it, but it helps a small family farm like me able to still make it an okay living without flooding the markets and giving my cows a good quality of life. But every time the government talks about supply management or changing it, or the American government wants to try to get into our market and stuff, it's a huge stress. It's my livelihood at stake. Can you imagine going out and seeing your barn on fire, or a tornado ripping it apart? And it happens. This was a friend's barn a year or two ago. And it's one thing, maybe you got your animals out, maybe they died in the fire. Hopefully no family members died in the fire. But I had a friend it happened to right before winter hit. And, where are you going to take your animals? You got them out, but where are you going to put them? You got to find a place to put them. You're going to have to travel back and forth to look after them. You're going to have to milk them, and maybe your feed storage has all disappeared. Where are you going to get feed from, right? And how are you going to build a new barn in the middle of winter? So these are huge issues. That's a farmer's nightmare. And of course, all the myths and misinformation on the internet, it's a huge issue. And that's probably why I got into social media in the first place. And I have a presentation, like I said, on how to battle these myths and misconceptions, but here's a few of them. We talk about anthropomorphism, all these things like, bestiality, rape, kidnapping and stuff, putting human emotions on animals. We talk about all the horrible stuff in milk that causes cancer and tooth decay and multiple sclerosis, and there's blood in it. And all the time, we know that's not true. That's 2% of the population, and even less than 2% of us are farmers. Trying to tell people and the 98% of you that, it's actually, those things aren't in it. My family drinks it, all these quality controls and the welfare audits and stuff that goes into it. But I don't blame people for being confused, because it's all this misinformation out there. Like, who do they believe, right? For myself on social media, I don't get attacked very often. Every once in a while, it happens. This was in 2019. There was an animal rights march in Toronto. Dairy farmers in Ontario is always sending us emails about activist alerts, which is terrifying in itself. You know, like lock your doors. They could show up at any time en masse. And just before that, I got a message from a gentleman in the UK. He was an activist from the Animal Liberation Front, and he had a profile picture of himself, and he had 2 machine guns. It was actually him with real machine guns across his chest. And he sent me a message, and he said, you know, like, do you get your jollies out of abusing animals? That's all he said. I don't have my messenger on my social media because of that. I didn't reply to him. The next morning I got up and my social media was inundated with hate and awfulness. So he had shared one of my profile posts to an activist group, the Light Movement, which has hundreds of thousands of followers of their own, and they were horrible people. Just sharing my post and sharing it and encourage them to attack me and my family. And I realized I can, on social media, I can actually ban countries. So I banned the entire UK for a while until it settled down. But in the meantime, it had taken off. It gotten into all across the world. And people from Toronto were starting, you know, it's pretty safe. They didn't really know who I was, but you know, it's kind of scary when people from your own province are starting to attack you, and they don't even know me. They know nothing about me. Just because I'm a dairy farmer and they heard horrible things about the dairy industry, they assume that I'm a horrible person. Messages like this, you know, what kind of people says, for all the dairy farmers, your greatest contribution will be your funeral. And this is one of the comments I got. This is in Australia. A couple hundred activists swarmed a Australian family. It was 2 parents and their 2 little kids, very remote to Australia. Sad thing is they surrounded this family. It's remote. They tried to get help, but they were so remote they couldn't get help there quick enough. They broke through fences. They hurled insults at the family and slurs and stuff. And how terrifying is that, to have these people come to your farm when you're just trying to do your job with your family to feed your country. And then of course we talk about all those things on social media, but you know, and there are things that farmers deal with all the time. And so, you know, it's a big deal, but it's, you know, it's just something we're used to. But what happens when things are a little bit more stressful and a little more depressing than they usually are? So thankfully, my friend Andrea Jones-Bitten, she's a veterinarian out of the University of Guelph, an amazing person. A funny thing is my wife is a veterinarian as well. And Andrea and my wife Kirsten are both very short people. And I've had my picture taken with Andrea a few times. It might be in my presentation, but they thought we were husband and wife going around the country talking about mental health, just because she's a veterinarian and she's short, I guess. But I had to squash that rumor pretty quick. But anyway, she's a great person. She studies mental health in veterinarians and farmers, and she did this research a couple of years ago, and she found that 45% of farmers had high stress, obviously. 60%, closing something in my page here, 68% of farmers are more susceptible to chronic stress than the general population. Oops. 35% met the criteria for depression. And thanks to the Brander farm for all their beautiful farm in the background for my photos. Anxiety, 58% had anxiety, and 40% were uncomfortable seeking help because of the stigma that still surrounds mental health in agriculture. You know, we're supposed to cowboy up and be tough and work through it. I just trying to see what my next post is here. So I had a friend who was a dairy farmer and an amazing person. She was young, she was beautiful, in her 20s, very, very passionate, the kind of person that you're around, and she just makes you feel really good about yourself. And you couldn't imagine, you think that, I wish I was her, because she had such an amazing life and did such amazing things. But to everyone's surprise, one day she took her life, and no one expected it. And that's the way it is with mental health. So I thought, what can I do to help bring some attention to mental health? I did this a few years ago, and I haven't really posted about it for a while, but I thought I'd throw it in today. So I got this little note, anonymous note in the mailbox quite a few years ago from a stranger. To this day, I have no idea who sent it. It made me feel really good. I put it on the wall of having a bad day. I thought I'll just take a look at it, and it always perks me up. But I thought, well, maybe we could do something like that. So I encouraged my followers to write an anonymous note to a farmer, a neighbor, write a letter to the editor, or something like that. Just do something nice for somebody. And it was overwhelmingly positive. I called it the I Live Because You Farm campaign. Of course, I got my own stuff in the mail, cookies. Schools got into it. They were sending little notes from the school kids out to the farmers in the area. This was from a neighboring farm. They posted about something that they'd got in the mail. I mean, it's all the way to New Zealand. This farmer in New Zealand got money and chocolate, and I like money and chocolate, so feel free to send some my way if you know where I live. And it's a fun fact that Canada also makes the money for New Zealand. Sometimes it looks very, very close to ours. A lot of farm open houses and different events. They were talking about my campaign about mental health, which was awesome to have people talking about it. And a lot of the local fairs picked up on it and had a little booth at the fair where consumers and visitors could drop by and write a little note to the farmer. And after the fair, they delivered it to the farm community. This lady up in Northern Ontario, she asked if she could use my little slogan for her social media. And she was a photographer, and she was going to do a photography book, like a coffee table book, and some of the proceeds were going to go to the farmers in the community. So I thought that was pretty great. And just to show you, you think, wow, how awesome is that? People doing such a good thing. Here's that original note, and how can you make something negative about it? But on Twitter, which I'm not on anymore, someone says, it's not about the note, it's about you should watch how the animals are mutilated and killed. Someone else replied to my note. I wonder if they had the courage to follow these cows happy journey to and within the abattoir. So people are always trying to find negativity in positivity. Why can't they just let me have a happy moment, right? So thankfully, advocates like me spoke up. This is Leslie Kelly and her husband Matt and her two kids. She goes by High Heels and Canola Fields. Check her out. Amazing Canadian advocate, a great person, and always positive. And they came out publicly and told them about their stresses on mental health. CBC posted it, and they were very brave to do that. And because of that, a lot of things came out of the woodwork. Other farmers and farm groups started talking about mental health and agriculture. It became a real positive and big movement. Here's I'm presenting to the University of Guelph Aggies soon about mental health. Even they are doing it on campus. This was to some rural doctors. It was a group that asked me to talk about mental health and social media and stuff like that, because they're trying to figure out a way to get farmers in to get help, and what kind of things are roadblocking them from seeking help. And I thought that was amazing group of young doctors. That was awesome. I've talked to Canadian Mental Health Society, so many groups. This was out in Prince Edward Island. They did a farmer wellness series. Got this great shirt out of it. Even Cow's Ice Cream was involved in it. This was in I think it was Mount Forest, the Hope Foundation. So many great people not associated with agriculture doing work to help farmers because they just love farmers in their community and they want to support us. This was at Speedside Church, I remember, not too many years ago. And it's always a sold out crowd, no matter where you go. It always surprises me that people want to come and learn how to help and how to support. And that's Bethany Parkinson, another great advocate. She's doing a lot of great work in mental health now. So we really appreciate all the support we get. And it's not just North America. We have, this is in Tasmania, I do believe. It is the Blue Farmer program, where people were knitting things out of blue baler twine to help raise awareness. And this is one of my favorites. You might laugh a little bit, but the Naked Farmer program, I encourage you to check out their page. You know, it's tasteful. You know, there's some naked farmers on there, but you don't really see anything. But not only do they kind of take their clothes off, I think I might have a picture of a gentleman here. They actually share their story about mental health and their mental health journey. So what kind of bravery does it take to do that and tell your story? I think it's absolutely amazing. And it's a way to get people talking and, a little bit of shock factor, but it's a lot of fun too. They do a calendar every year. Like I said, it's very tasteful. You don't need to worry about covering your eyes when you see it. The Do More Agricultural Foundation was the first kind of foundation and online thing that would be available to farmers, strictly for farmers, about mental health. Amazing program. I encourage you to check it out. I've done a little bit of work for them. They don't get a lot of action on their pages and stuff. So if you get a chance to go on and check out their stuff, we'd really appreciate it. Farmers are still shy about that stigma. They don't want to be people to know that they're checking it out. The Farmer's Toolbox is out of, I believe it's the Listowel Agricultural Society. They raised money through their ambassador program to do a website on mental health resources for farmers. So it's a little bit closer to home. I encourage you to check it out. If you're a farmer or not a farmer, the resources on there are amazing. It's pretty much everything you need to know about mental health and how you can help. The In the Know program out of the University of Guelph, I was talking about Andrew Jones-Bitten. They're continuing to do such great work. It's my number one charity that I tell people if I do talks, if you want to do a donation on behalf, this is where I'd like it to go. It's kind of they teach farmers how to help themselves, but also help others through kind of literacy, mental health literacy. So it's a great program. And of course, you've maybe heard this on the radio, the Farmer Wellness Initiative. I was on a roundtable group with Ernie Hardiman in the government at the time when they were setting this kind of thing up. And our focus was, there's help out there, but it's not farm focused. So these unique things that farmers struggle with, a lot of people aren't really familiar with. They don't understand it. So this wellness initiative, if you call 24 hours a day, it's totally free. You will talk to someone who is versed in agriculture. It could be a fellow farmer, but at least someone who understands where you're coming from. So please make use of it if you need to. My own family, I realized a few things. Here's my dad. Since he's listening today, he's unable to drive the tractors these days, but a few years ago, I told him, maybe he needs to take a break from driving the tractors and planting and hauling manure. And he's a little frustrated by that. He had a hard time getting up in the tractors, and he built an extra step on all the tractors around the farm so he could get up there. So that day I realized it's not so much just about helping, it's just because he wanted to help. It was part of his mental health. Hey, Dad? I think so. He'd like to be up there now again, I'm sure. And here's another one with my dad. He doesn't really not realize what a kind of social media star he is. This was his feed cart when he was feeding heifers up at our heifer barn. It was a struggle for him to get down with the feed scoop. So he made his own little feed cart walker. It has a little pusher that would push, you could drop down a rope and push the hay away from the wheels, and this little funnel would funnel the feed away from the wheels so we could get through. And it was a great way for him to continue on helping, not because he had to, because he wanted to. And of course, here's my parents. They're going to love this photo. We've upgraded to an iPad now, but this is when COVID hit. The church family is so important to us all, and even more so to my parents. That's their social outlet, their community, their friends, their neighbors. They hardly ever missed a Sunday of going to church. And when COVID hit, that was their social outlet. So I remember the day we set up Zoom on my dad's cell phone, and you could finally see his friends and neighbors, and the smile on their faces was amazing. It was a great day. So it's a great option now for them to be able to still get to church without actually leaving home. Bringing up our famous cow Vanilla to see my parents one day, just connecting with people. I just thought it was a fun photo to put in there. And then my parents were reuniting after being away in the hospital. They're both in the hospital at the same time, and just how happy they were to race over to see each other. It just made my heart skip a few beats. Things my kids have taught me. This is picking rocks on the farm. They don't call it rockwood for nothing, and it's a job I hate. And I remember in a rush wanting to get these rocks picked. Kind of a bit of a slave driver, a bit of workaholic, like my dad always was. And my kids were like, Dad, can we take a break? I need a break. I'm like, oh, I really want to get it done. Finally, they convinced me to take a break. We did some rock balancing at the rock pile at the end of the field. So every time we had a bucket, we'd stop and take a break and make some rock piles. And it was a lot of fun. And I think things went a little faster. I learned not to be such a slave driver and kind of try to enjoy what you do. And even myself, I built some dry stone walls out of rocks I've picked off the farm. I have a minor in geology from the university, so I do have a fascination with rocks. So try to take something you hate and turn it into something you love. During COVID, we were connected with nature on the farm. We're so fortunate to be able to kind of carry on doing what we're doing in our own little world while everyone else is kind of shut down. We have 60 acres of forest. I hadn't really been back there with the kids since they were little, and we were hunting elephants and giraffes and stuff that they believed me at the time. But just to be back and enjoy nature and have that time, it was just a huge boost to our mental health. Getting out and getting exercise. It's like, the farm is busy and people say, wow, you must get a lot of exercise. And I get a bad back from all the lifting and stuff, but you don't get that cardiovascular boost that you need for your mind. And just to get out, do some cross-country skiing or snowshoeing or go for a walk, it makes a huge difference to your mental health. I don't really snowshoe to the barn, but I just put that in there for a little bit of fun. I might have to actually tonight if the snow keeps up. Eating better. I am trying to cut down on my cheese, even though I love it. When you're young, you realize you can just pretty much eat everything. And it does catch up with you. So I'm trying to eat a little bit better to help with my health and my mental health. It can make a huge difference what you eat. Does it affect your mind? And your working environment. So our barn was built in the early 60s. And you see in the magazines that come in the mail, everyone has these new barns. And now I know my son wants a new barn, which we were working on maybe in the next couple of years. But for now, you got to kind of work with what you have. So give the barn a new paint job. Get the cows all cleaned up, looking nice. Put in some new LED lighting and make it a nice, bright, clean, airy place to work. And it does a huge impact to work in a clean environment, to not working in a mess and working with nice animals, to go into work every day and just have that. It's probably one of the best things. This is actually before I put the LED lighting in. Now the barn is a very bright, amazing place to work, and I love it. One of the best things I've ever done. Easy things you can do. You don't have to always take trips and stuff. My wife and I have been hiking the Bruce Trail. It's about 900 kilometers from Niagara Falls to Tobermory. We've done pretty much everything from just below Hamilton up until the Beaver Valley area. But we still have a long way to go. So we're almost halfway, and it's getting a little farther than home, but it's something that we can do together as a couple. We get to go to places we didn't know existed. It's such a beautiful province we live in. And it's something you can do in a dime and fairly cheaply. It costs you a little bit of gas, but when you get a little bit farther away, you can use Ubers to backtrack down the trails and stuff like that. So something I totally recommend. It's a goal we can have together, and it's so great for our mental health. So little things like that, just, as a farm family, always working together, it can have its struggles, of course, working with family all the time. But just doing things for each other to help out. My son, he plays ultimate frisbee 3 times a week, and just giving him that time away from the farm to enjoy time with friends and doing something outside of farming is important. Of course, the Rockwood Farmers Parade of Lights, great way to give back to the community. If you haven't been, it's like 15,000 people descend on our little village of Rockwood, second Thursday in December every single year. My family, it's almost our 30th maybe year of participating, and it's just all volunteer. There's no advertising, and it's just a way to give back to the community and thank them for supporting agriculture, and the local community really looks forward to it. And it's a way that we connect, and giving back to others in ways like this really does a great boost to your morale. Just seeing people's smiling as you go by is worth it. And my wife Kirsten, she is some of you may know her. She's a veterinarian. She's done large, she's done small, she's done mixed. She's worked for industry for pet nutrition. She has her own practice now doing weight management. I think she's on the wellness series. Actually, she'll be speaking about pets later on during the series, I think in April. But she has her own business now doing weight management in pets. So if anyone has a pet that's a little on the chubby side, reach out to her or reach out to me, and I'll get you in touch. It's a pretty amazing thing she does, and she's really good at it. Anyway, enough for the shameless plug. But on the side, she also does works at a vet clinic as a locum, as a relief vet, and she volunteers her time, doesn't make any money on it, for the there's a Kawartha Lakes Turtle Trauma Center, or the Turtle Conservation Center in Peterborough. And they have thousands of turtles come in there that are injured every year. All 8 species of turtle in Ontario are endangered in some way. So as a veterinarian, she can give them pain medications and fluids and bandage them up until they can get the care they need. There's actually a volunteer group called the Turtle Taxi group that volunteer to drive them to Peterborough. So it's not very often that we have a lot of turtles hanging around, but she's had hundreds of turtles come through her care. So after a full day of work, she comes home and maybe working with turtles till 11, 12 at night, so they can get a ride to the center. If they're deceased, she can actually take the eggs out of the deceased turtle, and then they will get incubated later on. So just an example of volunteering and giving back. You don't do it for, you do it for the animal, but you also do it for yourself. And just reminding myself, all these to-do lists. My mom makes to-do lists. I make to-do lists. But I'm trying to learn as I get older to take some time for myself. I live in a beautiful place. I'm always posting photos about it. A little while ago, I took a picture of a sunset. You know what? Actually, I didn't take a picture of a sunset. I was gonna post about it. I thought, this one's just for me. I'm going to sit here, enjoy it, not worrying about taking a photo of it. And it was a great moment. Just enjoying the beautiful place that I live. And I'm always telling people, to stop and smell the roses and hay, fresh cut hay and stuff, and just taking a moment to really let that sink in. I'm always telling other people to do it, but just to do it myself. Gardening, I got mixed feelings about gardening. Weeding is probably the worst thing about gardening, but it can teach you so much. Working together as a family, growing food, learning about it, watering it, watch it grow. And then, reaping your harvest, like it's such a reward, or giving the excess to neighbors or friends or to the food bank. There's so much importance that goes into something simple like growing a garden. Spending time with family and friends. Here's Andy with Vanilla. They're pretty good buddies, enjoying a campfire together. And I'm trying to reconnect with some of my friends. And we've been friends since public school, and we just had lunch maybe last weekend, and getting together, and it's just like we were back in public school. Like that's how friends are. But just to reconnect with those friends, because you get busy with life, you get married, you have kids. Now kids are getting older, and we have time to reconnect again. So make sure you try to have those connections with friends. Hobbies outside of farming, I totally support this. One of mine's astronomy. It's probably a silly hobby for a dairy farmer, because you need to be up late at night to have the skies dark enough, or really early in the morning before milking, or in the wintertime when you have a little more time. It's flipping cold out there. But I encourage you all to have something that you love to do outside of farming. If it has to be farming related, maybe volunteering or at an agricultural education booth, or maybe a tractor club, or collecting old tractors, or working on an old tractor, or something like that. But it's very important to have a hobby outside of farming. Education. It's important to always be learning, always magazines in the mail, never stop learning. I've always been a little bit of a geek. I probably would have been a teacher if I wasn't a farmer. I just love to learn. And it's so important for your mental health. The University of Guelph came out with this online farm business program. They're in their second round of it. They actually wanted me to come talk about my experience. It's not going to work out, but it's something you can do with your family, something you can do at home when you want to do it. And the little modules are not very long, by expert professors from the university. I learned so much, and the little quiz at the end, and you can actually get a certificate when you're done. So it's something that makes you feel really good to keep up with. So if anyone wants to check it out, please check that out. Getting near the end now, so just hang in there. But even when COVID happened, trying to make it a little fun. Dairy Farmers Ontario sent out 2 masks to every dairy farm family across Ontario. I thought that was amazing. It just made us think that they were thinking of us. We could show off our industry proudly. So it's always have a little bit of fun at it. And a few little points I wanted to point out. You want to make social media a place where people want to gather. There's so much negativity on social media that, some people like to gather in those negative places, but that can be toxic. Being nice has changed a lot of conversations for me. And there's that Brander farm in the background again. So thanks to them. But, people you think are going to be harsh, or you might think's an activist, if you reply nicely, you may realize they're just being sincere, or asking a legitimate question. And you're also representing your industry. So being nice to people shows other people what kind of person you are. And if you're on social media, would you really say those things to someone's face if you saw them in person? Like, so saying, my funeral would be the best thing I could give the world. But if you saw me with my family and my wife, would you come up to me and say those things? Maybe you would. Hopefully you wouldn't. But think about the things that you say on social media and how they hurt people, because I get hurt very easily. And think about the kind of people that are negative on social media. I always put myself in their shoes. Like, why are they saying what they're doing? Like, what's going on in their life that they're so bitter and so negative? So have some compassion for other people. And choosing to respond to people. I always try to keep a level head. It's hard to bite your tongue. Some people probably shouldn't be on social media. They can't bite their tongue. Maybe stay off if you can't handle that. But how you choose how you respond to people can make a big difference, because your words can hurt people too. So just a little thing, if you happen to be on social media, this applies to not just agriculture, but if you're bullied online on social media, so don't poke the bear in the first place. I can give some examples of a place not far from here. a great place. They sell stuff to the public, and they put a sign out in front of their front of their business, and it kind of was a little bit of a joke. But the vegans that actually came to their business didn't appreciate it. They didn't realize that many vegans came to their business, and they protested, and they actually had to take down their social media and all that kind of stuff. But be careful what you put out there, and you don't poke the bear in the first place. You're going to get yourself into trouble. Always engage in polite conversations, even if you disagree. I'm representing my industry. I want to be professional. And if you, like I said, some people shouldn't be on social media. So if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Block comments, hide, delete when necessary. I rarely do those things. I do have some words that if people use a swear word on my page, it's automatically hidden. Their comment. But I do hide comments every once in a while if it's a touchy question, and I will come back and unhide it and answer it later. That's because some of my followers aren't quite as tactful as I am, and I want to get there before they do. Take screenshots, report to media, report to police. It's very important if you're being threatened seriously, make sure you report that to police, because that can be very serious. And screenshots are great fodder for presentations like this. Read out to organizations like Farm and Food Care, Agriculture More Than Ever, help you be a great advocate. And form alliances online, so have friends and family that you can talk to as an advocate. I have other advocates that I public figures that I talk to if we have issues, and it's great just to know those people and get to know them a little better, and they help you out. And shut it down and keep it personal. So if you're getting tired of social media and it's turning into a job, you're not having fun, feel free to take a break. You can actually close down a public page for a while if you want to. I've always been too scared to actually do that, but or just don't have to be on the public forum. You can just be on your own personal social media, talking to friends and family. There's nothing wrong with that. So just to summarize, being an advocate and talking about mental health, one thing you want to do is reduce stress levels. We talked a little bit about how to do that. I need to bring home the point that I'm not a mental health professional. I'm just a farmer. I'm not a psychologist or a therapist or anything like that. So if you are having serious issues like that, this is just kind of like, skimming the pond a bit, but you need to talk to a professional. Exercise. So farming doesn't always count. You need to get that cardiovascular exercise, make real life connections. When the world of social media and Zoom like this, I so wish I could have been at the church today to see a lot of you people in person and talk to you and hug you and shake your hand and stuff. But those connections are really important. Take a break and do something you love. Do something for others, that volunteering, that outreach, like I'm kind of doing today. It makes me feel good to be able to do this for you guys. Educate yourself on awareness, prevention. If you educate yourself, then you can help others. And like I said, if you get help, then you're able to help others in need, right? And accept who you are. So, I've realized myself, I've suffered from anxiety. I'm very much an empath. My other people's emotions and how they feel very much affects how I feel. And it can be very upsetting, it can be very draining, but I've learned to kind of accept that, use those as a gift to try to help people. But those days that, I'm getting down or whatever, I realize, what's happening. So accept it. So just accept who you are. And just like I said, God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change. So thank you very much. I appreciated the talk, being able to talk to you today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, or if you need more information on the links, feel free to reach out. And for goodness sake, if you feel like you're in need or you need help, you can reach out to the people in the church, I assume, or myself, or any of those organizations that I mentioned. But we're here to help you, and we're all in this together. And thank you very much. Can you hear me now? All right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tim. We're going to let John do a little more formal thank you later, but first we'd like to give you a chance to answer some questions or hear some comments from folks. And while you were talking, Marie Benham put some notes in the chat that she was a part of the church for a long time, and you reminded her of the barn fire when she came home as a teenager and they lost their barn.
Hey, hi, Maria. That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's not awesome about the barn fire, but yeah, no, I remember that story. It was a hired man had a bit of a wasn't very happy and he lit the barn on fire. So I recently got pictures of the original barn, and my parents and I have never seen the original barn that was there. It was one of the largest ones in the township at the time. So fortunate to be able to see pictures of it. It's sad to see it go, but we're thankful to have a barn working at the moment. So
we have a note from Janice Osborne, who lived in Rockwood for 29 years and is in Pepperlaw.
Yeah, Janice, I went to school with her daughter Pam, and they're an amazing family, and I send my love to them all.
We got thanks from Rosalind. And
hey, Rosalind, she probably knows a little bit about mental health stuff too, so I appreciate her being here. That's awesome. And I think she'll be talking at some point too.
Yes, she's going to talk on March 22nd at 7:30 in the evening, and she's talking about advanced care planning. Who will speak for you? So,
I'm going to come to that one, so I'm looking forward to it.
I'll invite others to add to the chat or open your mics and ask a question directly. Open your cameras again, and maybe we'll change the view so that Lisa, do you want to do that so that we can see everybody?
People can only change view on their own computers. I can't control other people's.
Okay, so I pinned Tim for a time, but you can go back to gallery view if maybe it's just me that wasn't. Few more thanks from Maria and from Matt's Hedgehorn.
There, now I can see everybody too.
Any other comments or questions? Thanks. Don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be shy. Like I said, if you're too shy to ask a question now and you want to ask in confidence, you can contact me, or you can go to my social media page. I do have an email on there, and there is that stigma out there. So it's we all have our struggles, and I have my own, and there's no shame in sharing them. I've had a number of people on my social media. It's quite sobering that I think 3 or 4 times people have either emailed me or messaged me, and one gentleman came up in person and said, because of something you posted or something you said, you've actually saved my life. The one gentleman was in actually that evening he had planned to take his life, and I had posted something about my own struggle, and he connected with it, and something he said just clicked, and he put the pills away. He came and saw me the next day, gave me a big hug. We both had a cry together, and someone I didn't know really well, but just to know that you can have that effect on someone, that's huge. Like I don't like that responsibility, but at the same time, just to know that you can, you don't, and those are the people I know about. So imagine the people that you maybe help that you don't know about. So it's an amazing thing.
Did you hear the news?
Oh, go ahead, Sherry.
Did you hear the news that there's snowstorm in California? That's why the groceries are going up price. The groceries are going up price wise.
That's right. That's a huge mental health issue too, isn't it, Sherry? It's like storm, weather, the price of food going up. That's a challenge for everyone, and farmers are consumers too. So we have to buy food, and I buy milk and cheese and yogurt too. So it's like affects everyone the same.
Rosalind.
Yes, that is exactly what it's saying. Yes. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Rosalind, did you want to?
Yeah, thanks, Kim. And I just wanted to sort of add that, you know, encourage everybody. About 25% of the population suffers from anxiety or depression at some point. So that's 1 in 4 people. So, you know, and I'm so glad, Tim, that you're part of this movement of farming, you know, becoming much more open about having these conversations. Some people in the church will know I had very bad postpartum depression, and so I had the same kind of experience, and I want people to have that opportunity to be very open about those experiences and the treatments that help, medication, talk therapy, exercise, walking, appreciating nature, singing in my case, and all the things that are so important. And COVID has interrupted a lot of those things in people's lives. So some of those protective factors and feeling isolated is probably one of the top reasons that people you know, start that sort of downward spiral of not feeling supported. So Tim, thank you for your very practical examples. You may not be a professional. I'm the administrator in primary healthcare team, so I'm not a registered professional either, but I certainly appreciate so much the peer support from people in the same professions. I think that's when others can really see what it's like to both suffer, but also to recover and maintain. For most people, mental health is a issue for their whole lives. It's not just something that occurs briefly and disappears. So if you can put those protective factors in place for the rest of your life and have other people helping you, and a little bit of that is what I'm going to be talking about too, then it's just really one of those things that will help you your life long. And as a faith community, having faith and being in that support from your friends and congregants, a really important protective factor for people that have that vulnerability. So thank you so much for sharing today. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's not a quick fix for sure. There was a slide in there you brought. I reminded me I didn't put it in there, but before the pandemic, it was 1 in 8 farmers actually considered taking their life. But after the pandemic, they did another research. It's 1 in 4, and I just kind of blows me away because you know, people that you see every day and stuff, you don't know what they're going through. People hide it pretty well. And even for myself, you know, I'm at a bad day, I hide it pretty well too. But so yeah, that's all great points. So
You may be reading the chat, but maybe others aren't. The Sylvester family said your compassion, care, and concern for animals and people is inspiring. We're so pleased to be your neighbor, Tim. Thank you.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. I'm your neighbor too.
And Kim says, great talk. My father's family were farmers, McGladry in Aramasa, and they never talked of struggles. I work in mental health, CMHA, and your talk really opened up my eyes around rural farming challenges. Here 24/7, always a resource.
Awesome.
And Lisa, put that link in.
Tim, it's Patty Lancaster. Hi. I'm curious, how much more stress is on you to find time for your social media against the stress of caring for your animals and your farm? I mean, what's the percentage there of stress?
Somehow I knew you were going to ask that question, actually.
Did you?
Yeah. But to be honest with you, I'm actually slowing down on my social media a little bit. If you follow me, you notice I don't post as much as often. It's probably the winter. It's like there's not as much stuff to talk about. But there's also I have other outlets. I've been doing a lot of writing for some different papers and you know, a few more talks here and there and stuff. So I kind of branching out a little bit, but yeah, it does take a bit of time. I think I had between the last 2 weeks, I had 10 requests for talks for for this month, and I'm like, I just can't say, like, there's a part of me like wants to say yes because I want to help, but then part of me is like, travel time, and I do have work to do, and it's not fair for the rest of my family. So I am slowing down, and the way social media is working with, TikTok and all the younger generation, it's maybe time to pass that torch on, like I'm not as savvy on some of those things. I'm more of a storyteller now than anything, but I'll still dabble in it. But I do take a lot of time to myself. If I don't feel like posting something, I don't, because you don't do it just because you have to. You just do it for fun, right? So, and it's also a bit of a mental outlet for me. It's kind of like something's bothering me, I'll post about it, or something made me happy, I'll post about it. It's kind of like journaling, right? It's not, don't worry about me, because it's a way to get things off my chest. So yeah, good question.
Good.
Tim, my colleague Greg Smith-Young was with us from Hope Springs in Elora, and he
nice.
had to leave, but he wanted to share his appreciation for you supporting folks who, like him, are living with mental health challenges. And it's a direction that he's moving into more. And he said he'd love to have more conversation about this and how you could collaborate. So
Excellent. I'd be glad to
connect you with Greg. And I think Maria opened her mic. I don't know if she wanted to say something.
Oh, not particularly. I mean, I don't know that I have a question, but I just love seeing Tim, and I enjoyed his talk immensely. And I recognize those windows behind you, Tim.
there you go. You would. You probably looked through them a few times. So
yeah, wonderful to hear you. And you're doing
nice to hear your voice. Yeah. You have to stop in sometime again.
I'd love to. Yes, definitely. Thank you.
So for those of us that are newer to the area, Tim, am I assuming you're on the Benham farm then? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I thought maybe you said, I wasn't sure which Benham, but yeah, my dad was Art Benham, and John Benham was right beside us at the farm to the south.
Okay.
Yeah, so our family has been here. My dad said, was it, Dad, you said 53 years ago yesterday or the day before?
That'd be really close to it, yes.
It was 53 years ago.
Yeah, good. Oh, hi. Hi, Paul.
Hi, how are you doing?
I am doing very well. Lovely to see you and Diane on the screen.
Good to see you too.
And Sherry.
Yes, nice to see you too, yes.
Yeah, nice to see you, Sherry.
Yeah.
And thank you, Patty, for making this possible.
So I might say, if you're seeing folks on the screen, Brian Mack, Tammy Smits, and John, and Heather DeYoung, who's not with us, have been part of this wellness series group. So, and Tim, they've done lots of preparation in the basement of the church with a lovely basket with your name on it. It has maple syrup and applesauce, and it's going to have
Goodness, you didn't have to do that.
And lots of good stuff. It even has a little cow that's been crocheted for you. So
really,
yeah. So you've got something to look forward to if we get out of the snow.
I'm gonna go break in there in a bit.
You have to shovel the snow first.
Yeah, I'll send Andy ahead of time.
Well, make sure you get the eggs out of the fridge and the pepperonis out of the freezer.
Oh, I won't. Well, thank you very much. That's very kind. You didn't have to do that.
Thank you. I think I'm going to let John do a thank you, and then we have a few slides just telling you what's coming up, a little bit about our churches and some things like that. And we have a little video we put together at the end of the year just with 2022 pictures of our congregation. It's about 3 or 4 minutes long. So we thought we'd share those things, and then we'll leave the space open if you want to chat longer or whatever. But we're so grateful that you came. So.
Yes, thank you, Tim, for your presentation. The perspectives of what we should be thankful for. The 7-day commitment to milking and long hours of work. Writing notes of praise are very important. I know your parents and children are very proud of you, and I'll contact you soon and we'll get you that gift basket. I think you'll enjoy it.
That's nice.
So thanks.
Make sure you don't give it to my kids or I'll never see it.
Exactly.
So I'm just going to share my screen again for a couple of minutes, and then we'll thank you again for coming. So you met Rosalind. She is going to be sharing on March 22nd about advanced care planning. And we hope that that will be hybrid. So you're welcome to join online or join us at church in person if we can get in. The series will continue. We're going to have safeguarding and crime prevention for everyone. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That's Kirsten's presentation about pet care. So that will be April 12th. Then we have computers and seniors. The colleagues of John's will come to talk about, and this is for everyone, but think questions about internet and service providers and so on. And then we're going to have cyber safety and human trafficking on May 3rd. So those you can, Eventbrite will give you access to all of those if you are interested. We wanted to tell you about Stone Church. We are really caring about our community. So we wanted to offer this outside just our congregation, but we also connect with other people that make a difference. Anishinaabe Outreach works in Kitchener and now in Guelph, reaching out to the First Nations communities. And we've been involved with them for many years and really have a very special relationship with them. The Canadian Food Grains Bank. It helps people around the world in disasters and food security. Our United Church Mission and Service also makes a difference in Canada and around the world. And of course, our neighbors at East Wellington Community Services and the Rural Women's Support Program. We appreciate support for our church so that we can offer events like this, so that we can take part with our partners in caring for people in the community and the world. And so we are grateful for any support we receive. We have a partner, Rockwood United Church on 119 Harris Street. Rockland's part of the Rockwood congregation. And you can learn more about our pastoral charges, our ongoing worship by going to our website.